Okay. Well, I started recording, and
I noticed that.
you can see it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Cool. Sure. I want to start with one-word answers to get to know you better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So just shoot the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Sure. Dogs.
Cute.
Technology.
Daunting.
Is it okay? Well, it can be daunting.
It can be daunting sometimes. Learning new technology like TikTok. I don't know how TikTok works.
I forced my company to do TikTok, but that's another story. Okay. Globalization.
Globalization is connecting people. That's so cheesy. That's Nokia.
That's what I thought. Nokia, our beloved phones from the past era.
Connection.
Yeah. 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 All right. Next one is meditation.
Meditation. Something that I want to try, but still haven't succeeded. So it's a pursuit. Meditation is a pursuit.
Hey, I love it. It is actually something like constant.
It's really hard to sit still and like not think about anything and not watch anything. It takes a lot of practice. Yeah.
Yeah, sure is. Pursuit. I love that. Okay. You can. That was great. And now the next segment is longer, a little bit longer answers, but it has to be long, but it's not a one-word answer. Okay. What's a drink that describes you and why?
A drink that described me. I've been addicted to salted cheese tea, milk tea, salted cheese milk tea.
What?
Have you tried it?
Nope.
Um,
That exists?
I think yeah. I think Koi, the bubble tea place, have that. It's like the next like hype food, I guess. So it's basically milk tea without the boba, but they put like cream salted cheese on top.
Ooh.
Yeah. And like I love milk, I love cheese. So I think that totally describes me. And I don't like unpopular uncommon belief, but I don't like boba. I never like boba. So it's like perfect.
Get the drink where you are?
Sorry?
Can you get the drink where you are, or you have to ship them from Indonesia?
Oh, there are bubble tea places that sells those now too here.
So you constantly have this?
I try not to have it constantly, but once a week or sometimes less. Sometimes I wouldn't have it for the entire week, but
I've never seen you post it Instagram, so I'm not sure whether this is real affection or not. So no boba.
Yeah, because
no boba.
No boba. Yeah, I'll send you a picture of it later. when I get it.
The Clarissa drink.
Salted cheese milk tea without the boba.
I can't wait to tell them to like the upper generations. I mean, our parents, our aunts, like those who don't drink fusion stuff, because some people stick to cheese is just with I don't know, bread, but then they hear cheese with chocolate, like in martabak, they'll scoff. but they don't know. They don't know our stuff.
Right. Yeah. It was a weird concept too when I first saw it, the salted cheese milk tea, and then my first thought was like, that's kind of gross. It's like you add milk on top of milk basically. But I tried it and then I'm a believer.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the U.S. You're in the place where they push the limits, like fried Coca-Cola. Don't they have it?
I don't even know. I know fried Twinkies.
What's a Twinkie?
Twinkie is like a junk food where you can get from like 7-Eleven. It's like basically a sponge cake with like cream in it. But then if you go to like food fair, they would fry it.
Oh,
So yeah, you can get fried Twinkies at food
do you
fair.
have them?
I never tried it.
Okay.
I
Please
tried
tell
fried.
me how it is if you tried.
I tried fried alligator.
What? Are you serious? Where?
Fried alligator tastes like chicken, like fried chicken. You can't really tell the difference.
Oh my goodness. Where'd you try it? Like,
Food fair, and it's a common food in New Orleans.
already?
Like yeah, Creole Cajun food. They have fried alligator
Wow.
sandwich. Yeah, so I tried it.
Try that. Okay. Is it recommended though? Like, do you recommend it? There's some health benefits maybe, or
I
some.
don't think there's a health benefit because it's fried. And honestly, you're not missing much because if you give me fried alligator and fried chicken, like I couldn't tell the difference.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a lot of alligators in Florida. Maybe if they need to control the population, they should open
probably.
a restaurant so that hope it's healthy. Well,
No, it's not.
right.
Okay.
Which Friends character are you?
Friends character?
Yeah.
Monica.
Monica?
I've always related to Monica, even though I don't have like that bad of an OCD, but I'm like a clean and neat freak. And sometimes like in those moments, I relate to Monica. And a little bit of Chandler because I consider myself as sarcastic, and Chandler is like the most sarcastic of all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is your house like all neat and
I try to make it neat. I like to have things like organized in one place.
yeah.
So there's always like a spot for everything.
Yeah.
If you talk to my friends from high school, they admire how like how neat my writing is, because I'm the type of person, if like I don't do a straight line on my notebook, I would just like rip it off and then I would make another new straight line.
Wow, that's interesting. Is that why
Yeah.
you did so well in school and you chose a very difficult topic? Maybe that's like part of the explanation.
I guess so, because like what I do in drug safety, it involves a lot of like procedures, and some
Right.
people don't like structures and rules, and I love procedures and rules. I like making SOPs. I know this is like I'm making myself look weird. This is like a weird obsession, but I guess so. I guess it has something to do with that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, can't wait to talk more about that in a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. What superpower would you want to have?
Being able to read minds. That's always what I always want to have.
Ooh,
Yeah.
creepy. Nerd. Wow. Well, why do you want to have that?
Because if I'm able to read minds, I know like what to say to that person. You know, because like if they have like certain thoughts that I can clarify, I don't have to ask them. I can just tell them what it is because I already read their mind.
Right. So you don't actually have to talk anymore. because you
Yeah.
you don't have you already know exactly what they're thinking. You can just give
Yeah.
them, I don't know, salted egg tea with chocolate or cool.
And that's a good way of seeing it. I never thought about like not having to talk to people anymore because I pretty much like already know what they're thinking.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I was listening
What
to
about you? What's your superpower if you get to choose one?
if I can choose one, I want to talk to animals.
Oh, that's a good one.
Just
That's a good one.
for them to tell us if like something is happening with nature. Feel like they know
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. You can have a zoo
Well, love that.
and then just talk to them.
Yeah, yeah. Have you watched Tiger King on Netflix?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's crazy. Like
Yeah,
the people are crazier than the animals.
right. Yeah, yeah. For animals too, but the zoos are huge. Like they're like, I don't know, size of a normal public zoo, but they have it to themselves.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
cool. Well, that was a great series of brain teasers. I'd love to get to know you, and this was an awesome platform to do it. Can you
Yeah,
tell
that
us
was
where
fun.
you grew up and how did you find your passions?
How I grow up. Um, I guess I can start out well in high school. You know how like you have to choose between like science or social science and everything. I was already in the science pathway, and I think that was my first experience in like taking chemistry, and that's how I started liking science. Was um, my chemistry teacher was very nice, and she was very encouraging, so I really like her, and that kind of developed my interest in chemistry. And then when I get to college, um, I decided to choose a major in biology,
Mm.
molecular and cellular biology, because I like science, but at the same time, I was kind of directed by my parents as well. Um, so like my dad was like, "Oh, like you have to be in the science pathway, but you get to choose whatever science pathway that you want to be in." And at the time, my thought process was, I don't like physics, so that I can't be an engineer. And I've always liked chemistry and I like biology. So that's how I decided to pursue a major in molecular and cellular biology.
Mm. Wasn't it lucky then that your dad accidentally asked you to study a field that you actually like?
Yeah. I mean, it was a coincidence that they like directed me into a certain pathway, which I ended up liking. Yeah, I mean, at that time, back in high school, I've also liked art. So like originally, I was thinking of pursuing like graphic design, but I mean, like when you after you graduate from high school, you really don't know. You really have no idea what you're going to do as a career, right? So yeah, I'm kind of glad that they directed me into a certain pathway, and at least they don't um, like hone me into just one particular pathway. You know, there's just like, oh, science, because they think that, oh, science can be useful in the future. And so, yeah, they supported me taking biology.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny. I also had great teacher in high school in math. I wasn't really good at math, but this teacher is scary. He was the oldest teacher in high school, in my high school, and everybody feared him. But the fear pushed me forward because I respected him
Uh-huh.
and I wanted to impress him. And then it was not until I met him that I sort of fell in love with math. But um, it is constant theme for me that I have to have a good teacher to know a subject well, and I have to have an exam. I have to have an example who is good at what they do
Mm-hmm.
for me to be more interested in that.
Yeah.
That an ex- that is economics. Like one of my relatives is an economist. I was like, I wanted to be like him. So I guess when one is young, examples are needed and guidance are super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think having a good teacher helps a lot, um, for kids to like develop a certain liking into a certain subject. Like if the teacher is like mean and they always make you feel like you don't know anything, and they don't like challenge you intellectually, then like kids will lose interest. So like having a good teacher that can like teach you stuff and like challenge you is like hard to find, and is needed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Um, when you applied to college, were you undecided or you already know that biology is the subject that you wanted, or you how was the choice? How did
um I came in knowing that I wanted to take biology because, again, my thought process at the time was, if I'm undecided, then like I will spend more time in school, like taking different classes, and then that will end up with me like being in school longer. Not that I hate school, it's just that like I just want to like pursue my undergraduate as efficient as possible. So yeah, I just picked picked a major, and then I just went with it. It came with some struggles too. Like I had to take zoology, and the teacher made me listen. The teacher made me memorize different sounds of birds,
no? Yeah,
and that was in the practical, like the final practical test. And like those are like one of the examples of like teachers who would encourage people to like not pursue a certain degree.
were you in a strong fresh? Were you in a strong frame of mind when you did the exam, or were you a little bit you know off when you did that? I feel like that needs to have a concentration.
I at one point, like I just gave up studying for it because I can't tell the different voices of birds. Like how can you even do that?
And
So yeah, I mean, I tried my best in like the theoretical tests, and then yeah, for that subject, I just gave up on the practical one.
okay, molecular biology, is it a combination of
Mm-hmm.
chemistry and biology, or what? What is it? Because
So molecular and cellular biology is a study of like the human, plants, or animals' cells. And cells are basically what makes up a life form. Like your skin contains millions and billions of cells. So my major studies like I want to say abstract stuff that you can't really see with your naked eyes, because everything like you have to see in a microscope, and it's very, very like molecular, which is like super, super tiny. So like part of what I learn is about like genetics. I learned a lot about like plant genetics, cats, flies genetics, and how your body reacts to certain food. Like I learned how, that's more of the biochemistry side. Like I learned how sugars are being processed in your body, and like the different cells that involves in breaking down that sugar. Yeah, stuff
So
like that.
how long did it take for you to finish your undergraduate studies?
I think about 4 years. So I went to a community college first for 2 years, which I think was a good idea coming from like a high school in Indonesia. Community college provides like a smaller classroom and a more individualized, like because it's a smaller classroom, then the teacher will have more attention to their students. So yeah, it's a good idea to go to community college for 2 years, and then I transferred to University of Washington in Seattle. And yeah, the classroom size is bigger, and you really need, once you get into like those big universities, like you really need to basically learn independently. You can't rely on your teachers to come to you if you have any problems. It's you're the one who has to like come to them and take like different classes or tutorials, like look for tutors by yourself. So yeah, it's a good transition from community college to university.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you have the same friends in community college up towards University of Washington?
Yeah, because the community college was in Shoreline, which is in like the Washington area. So I have a lot of my friends from Shoreline would transfer to the bigger Seattle area and like other universities other than University of Washington. And I also made new friends too over there.
Right.
Yeah.
How was Seattle for you? I mean, I heard there's great seafood and great football. And what was it like?
I love it. I love it. When I first came in to Shoreline, I did not enjoy it because I was not used to the cold. I mean, coming from a tropical country, and then you have to deal with winter, and sometimes it would snow. That wasn't enjoyable. But after living there for about 7 years, I learned to love it, and they're very big on outdoors activities. So I get to do like different outdoor activities. Yeah, after I graduated, basically, I get to try it, and people there are really nice. It's one of those cities where random people would just smile at you. And when I moved back to when I moved back to Jakarta, like I kind of missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after you graduated, you said that you lived there for 7 years. I mean, undergrad was what, like around
4 years, and then I worked for a little bit.
And
yeah.
Did you have an expectation to stay in the US?
After I graduated? Originally, yes. Basically, like I didn't really have any like set plan. I just go with the flow. After I graduated, I got a job, which was quite hard at the time. So for international students, you were given like a 3 months limit to stay in the country as an international student after you graduated, to be jobless in the United States for 3 months. And after you pass that 3 months, then you have to move back to your home country, basically. And yeah, I used up all those 90 days to get a job. So I was already ready to move back at the time. I was already packed. I was like staying over at my friend's place. I already like let go of my apartment and everything. But then like 3 or 5 days before I had to fly back, I got this job. So I decided to stay and continue like the working permit that I have for about 3 years.
Wow. And what job was it that got you that you got? Tell me about the job.
My first job was it's a protein crystallization company. So, okay, when you graduated from like biology, the common pathway for you after graduation is usually research, like being in a research industry. So I was doing my job search in research. But then I encountered this company where they do protein crystallization, which is not research. It's mostly like the production side of research. So basically what I did was I supported these different researchers crystallizing their proteins.
And why do they crystallize their proteins?
Okay, so let's say if you want to make a drug, like you want to make some sort of medication, you need to know, like you want that drug to bind to a certain protein in your body. So let's say like cancer drug, like you want that cancer drug to bind to a certain like cell inside your body. So what these researchers do is like they want to know the structure of the protein or the cell in order for them to make a drug that would bind to whatever they wanted to target in your body. Does that make sense?
Right. You can't just put like protein powder in the drug so that it is already connected to a protein when you digest them. No, you can't.
You can't, because like different disease have different proteins that they want to target. So like protein, there's like hundreds and millions of proteins. So it's just think of it as like part of the cell. Part of the cell, there's a protein, and that's what what researchers essentially want to target to make a particular drug. So yeah, I guess without me knowing, like when I got that job, I was in the other end of the pharmaceutical industry, basically. Like pharmaceutical industry produce drugs, and this one is more like researching what the drug will be for that certain
does
disease.
every drug have to go through the process?
Every drug has to go through clinical research.
What about the crystallization, protein crystallization? So do you like do this for drugs, third-party drugs, or you just do it for your own company's drugs?
So what I did was I make chemical solutions based on orders. So I don't work for a particular research or a particular disease. It was more of like, hey, we need this chemical solution. Can you make that? So it's more of like production, kind of, yeah. So
Which
yeah,
company
it's
was
not.
it, Clarissa?
It's called Rigaku. It's so it started out as a startup company in Washington, but then my particular department was bought off by this Japanese company called Rigaku. Yeah.
Was it acquired during when you were there?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was acquired when I was like, yeah, during my first year, I think. So yeah, those kind of things are interesting.
Wow. What was that like?
Yeah.
How was it interesting?
Acquisitions. Well, it's just basically like it's a change of it's a change of payroll. It's a change of like the HR people. It's just a lot of like transition, right? So like, if you're trained to do things a certain way, follow a certain procedure, and then you get acquired by another company, then that means what you were trained doesn't matter anymore. You have to start learning what this new company are doing. So like the transition process is it's kind of like a curve, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
How long did you work at Rigaku?
Um, about almost 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then looking at the profile, you've worked at Novartis, you've worked at Roche,
Roche, yeah.
right? Roche,
Roche. Uh-huh.
and these are the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. Did you have like a um, preconceived notions of who they are and what the media tells them before going in, or were you, on the other hand, actually, you know what, I want to work for them? Well,
Um, so yeah, after I was done with the job with Rigaku, I decided to move back to Indonesia because I wanted like a change of scenery, basically. I felt like the job wasn't going anywhere, and I felt like I wanted to like explore other things, so I decided to move back. Um, I moved back without having any plans of what I want to do career-wise, so I didn't like apply for a job or anything because I want to know like the job market, what's it's like back then. And so I kind of like stumbled into these company because at the time back in 2014, the regulation for drug safety in Indonesia was recently implemented. So they implement the regulation like Badan POM. It started to implement the regulation for drug safety in 2011. And so these pharmaceutical companies that didn't have drug safety department previously are starting to be expected to have a drug safety department. So it's back then it was basically a new department, and so like they were looking for someone with a science background because like a lot of the cases that are being received, like you need to have a science background to understand what the cases are talking about. So yeah, I mean, I got referred to this particular job, and I ended up liking it because at the time when I moved back to Indo, like Indo isn't big on research. So honestly, like I wasn't sure what I was going to do with my degree in Indo because like there's not a lot of research going on in Indonesia. So yeah, I guess I got lucky getting into this job. Like it was the perfect timing.
so you worked
Yeah.
at Novartis and Roche in Indonesia.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. When I want to go into the regulation side of drug and safety. Um, my question is, do the pharmaceutical companies need to do research in Indonesia and other local markets, or do they only need to do the research in their headquarters?
There need to be clinical trials before a certain medication is approved in in a certain country, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in that particular country. So, do you get it? So the short answer is no. Like, you don't need to have like a clinical research in Indonesia for the product to be sold in Indonesia. What they would ask um, from pharmaceutical companies when they registered certain drugs, they want clinical trial report from not necessarily Indonesia, but they want like a report that this drug has been tested in a certain population of patients and that it's safe and it's effective. And they would analyze those reports that we compile and send to to the health authority to decide whether if this drug can be marketed in this country or not.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
what do you do exactly in these companies?
What I do. So drug safety. Okay. So I guess I have to start from like the big picture. So drug safety is like the a part of it started out as a part of the government. So like for example in Indonesia it's called Badan POM, and like in the US it's FDA, Food and Drug Administration. In Europe it's EMA, European Medicinal Agency. Because the government want to not regulate, they want to monitor the safety of the drugs that are being marketed in their country, right? If they don't have this authority, this part of the government, then people can just be making jamu, and then they would just claim that, oh, this can make you live for 100 years. And there's no one to monitor or check the actual claim to that.
Right.
Right. So it started out as a branch in the government. And then, so they would want to monitor the safety of the products that are being marketed in their country. And they rely on the pharmaceutical industries who are actually making these drugs to also monitor that for them. So like it's basically a collaboration between the pharmaceutical industry and the government to monitor the safety of the products that are being given to patients.
Hmm. So you, as the seller of the drugs, also want to ensure the safety of these drugs,
Mm-hmm.
in tandem with the government, who is trying to ensure the safety of the public through regulation.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, cool. Very cool. And
Uh-huh.
wow, what do you think about the regulations in Indonesia with your interaction with them?
The regulation in Indonesia, so I feel like they adopted a lot of regulation from Europe. So actually like their timelines and the way they do things are pretty similar to Europe. It's just that their infrastructure is not well supported, well funded, I guess. So they're like the pharmacovigilance sector of the Badan POM would still do things manually. But I mean, they're great. From my interaction with them, they really engage pharmaceutical industries. So me as like a drug safety representative, they would invite us into meetings and let us know in advance that they're going to implement a new regulation, and they usually would ask for our inputs as well. How is it going to work in your industry? And they not only engage like the multinational companies as well, but they also engage, of course, the local pharmaceutical companies as well. So my interaction with them has been really great. I mean, they have a really open communication. Yeah, and they encourage collaboration a lot.
Any problems that you face in your job line?
Like with Badan POM, or
With in general,
like in general?
ensuring drug safety in society.
Yeah, because I basically monitor the internal side of the company. So my job doesn't involve going out to doctors, going out to patients. Like I don't go out and talk to them. So my department rely a lot on other departments who are actually doing that, like the salespeople who are actually sales and marketing people who are actually interacting with the doctors, and sometimes they would interact with patients too. So I rely a lot on like other departments for them to send this report to me. And yeah, I do a lot of outreach. I do a lot of trainings. I also talk to our vendors as well, like third-party contractors, to ensure that they know their responsibility in reporting the safety of the drugs to us. And so it involves a lot of moving factors, and like human error happens. They forgot, and like they don't report, and they forgot. Yeah, most of the time they forgot, stuff like that. So that part is challenging. I just have to like reiterate several times that like, hey, like this is important. This involves the safety of the patient, because we want to know like if the patient that are taking our drugs are having this particular side effects. And let's say if we compile those reports, and apparently like 1 million other people who are taking this drug also experience the side effects, then we would, like those kind of things, we would like notify the health authority, and then essentially we would update that in that product insert that you usually get when you buy certain medications, like that piece of paper that like most people throw away,
Right.
when they buy certain medications. Essentially, like the reports that I compile will be compiled into that.
Oh, I see. So
You chose to interview me, so you chose to be confused yourself.
that's good. I like that. Yeah. Hey, but I'm a podcaster. I love to go into rabbit holes. Going to it out.
I hope I'm making sense. Like, just ask me if I'm not making any sense, because I want your audience to understand as well.
Well, let's leave that to the audience. But I think that we're doing a great job.
Okay. All right.
You said the word pharmacovigilance. What does that mean?
Okay, pharmacovigilance it's a combination of Greek and Latin word. Pharmaco meaning drug, and vigilance is like keeping watch. So basically, like keeping watch of the drug. Basically, like drug safety is pharmacovigilance. It's interchangeable. It's just like the fancy way of saying it.
Yeah, it sounds so fancy, but I don't want to make a guess of what it is. But
Mm-hmm.
it sort of combines two worlds in it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And then how long did you work for Novartis and Roche?
So total, I think since 2014 to 2019, so 5 years total with
Okay.
those
Till
companies.
2019.
Hmm. And now I continue to work for a pharmaceutical industry in the same in drug safety as well. So,
Right.
yeah.
But you moved to a different country. Um,
Hmm.
why was that?
Why?
Yeah. Why did you go back to the States?
Do you want me to mention about the macet, the traffic?
I want you to mention about everything.
um, yeah. So why did I move to the States? It's because I was given an opportunity to do this. I was lucky enough that I met someone, and we both decided that like living in the US would be will be a little bit better for us, because for me it's the traffic. um yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. um I don't know what else to say to that.
Well, I love that. Can you share more? Like, how was it difficult for you both to decide? You know what, I want to go to the US, or
Uh-huh.
did you both already have because you guys are not doing the same, you're not in the same sector, right? You said that your husband
Yeah,
was recruiting.
yeah.
Did you know? Did you guys already have a job, or were you like, you know what, we're gonna take a bet on ourselves and find out later?
Yeah, that is kind of my pattern. I guess, like, I moved back to Indo not knowing what I'm gonna do, and then I just decided to move to the US without like applying for jobs, because again I want to know the job market, and um, yeah, I want to know the job market. But it wasn't easy, because I mean, I didn't grow up here, and a lot of my friends are in Indonesia, right? So, and it also wasn't easy to leave like a good job, and basically just starting over from zero in another country. So that was scary. um, but I mean, there's no like, I anywhere you live there's always going to be like a plus and negative side to it. But I mean, we were fortunate enough to have an option to pursue another life in another country. So we decided to go for it.
And did you
Yeah.
guys already have a green card, or what?
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh, you both.
Yeah. My husband did,
Hmm.
and yeah, my husband did, and then he basically sponsored me.
So you did not have to apply for a visa anymore.
I do actually. The
You do?
process was long, because basically because I'm getting sponsored through marriage. um, and so like I had to go through several like visa application. Like I have to go through a fiance visa application, and then once I get here, I have to get married in 90 days. And then I have to like change my status into a green card. So that's a super long process. And I'm still an Indonesian.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you have done it, if you guys were late, would you guys still be able to do it? Maybe if, 2020, would it be harder
Late
now
late for what?
to do the immigration to move to the US? Wouldn't it
Oh,
be more difficult right now to do that?
Yeah. I mean, again, it was very fortunate. It was very lucky, and then it was the perfect timing because that we like decided to do it in 2019. In 2019, sorry. Because right now, like all of the immigration office are closed, and a lot of these cases are getting delayed, from what I read.
Hmm.
So yeah, it would have been longer and probably more stressful, like waiting to hear from them, in this situation.
I find your risk loving attitude is something that I should do in my job, taking a risk and believing in yourself, which you have done several times. And that's super
Uh,
inspiring.
Nick,
Yeah,
Nick, sorry, I lost you. I lost
yeah,
like
my
the entire 30 seconds.
yep. My connection, I think it's my end, but I want to keep this. Mm, okay, I think
Okay, I can hear you.
okay.
Yeah.
I think we have to go through these blips like speed bumps in Jakarta roads. Just have to go through it. I don't know.
It's fine.
No,
Yeah. What were you saying?
I was saying that I'm very inspired by your uh, ability to go all in your job, in your love life. I think it's super inspiring, and I'm in that stage where I want to do that, where I'm putting um, myself as the agent in charge of my life and going to um, a new chapter in my life, which is a master's, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing from there what what is out there for the world. And I'm not like closing um, any options and just going all in. I love that.
Right. Yeah. I think I think you just need to challenge yourself and like not afraid to take risks, because like if you're afraid, then it's gonna close a lot of doors for you, right? And you have like you're fortunate enough to have this a lot of options, and it's just a matter of like picking one and just go for it. And I mean, it does come with its own struggles, and it's scary. Like for me, like moving to another country, not leaving my job, it was scary, but I mean, like you have nothing to lose. That's my, I guess like that was my mindset. Like
Mm.
yeah.
Mm. Love that.
Like the
Hey,
worst thing that could happen is that you fail, but then you'll get to start over. So yeah,
mm-hmm.
go for
Wow,
it.
amazing. You have this sort of energy that drives you, and I know that. Well, I have someone knocking. I don't know who it is. I have
I
to.
need to turn I need to turn on my light because
Okay,
like it's getting dark, I feel like.
okay, we'll be back. I just need. I think
All right.
it's.
Okay.
Okay, don't
Okay.
go. Don't go. Hello. Hi. I'm here with someone sent me some pictures.
What's that? What are you having for lunch?
It's my asparagus and broccoli.
Oh, is that like a grocery box?
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah. Just boil them for the week.
Yeah. Meal plan. Meal prep.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's like the way to do it.
It saves a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Clara, you're super bubbly, you're super energetic, and no one's gonna argue that um, you know you're not smart. You're very active in this program outside of um, I guess what you do on a daily basis, which I think is a little bit outside, but correct me if I'm wrong, is this Global Young Leaders Program, or what's the correct name of it?
One Young World.
One Young World. Sorry.
One Young World. Yeah, yeah.
What is that? Are you still active with it?
I am not as much as I want to, because I keep on moving cities. So like I need to like start making connections and like put my roots down, and that takes a while. But basically that was something that I got into as well when I was working for Novartis. It's an organization, nonprofit organization, called One Young World, where they invite young individuals who are basically making a difference in their community. And so when I went to that conference, they invited like people, like young people who are running for office in their country, trying to like change certain policies. Um, yeah, and they also engage big corporations as well. So they encourage like big corporations to send their young workers who cares about like making a difference, social responsibility, to go into that conference as well. So I met like representative from Coca-Cola, BP Oil, PG&E, Unilever. Yeah, and they also invite like artists, and just have them give them a platform to talk about like what they did to support or give back to the community that they live in.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
I did something similar with an organization in Indonesia called the
Mm-hmm.
organization.
What is
Where
it?
the France Seda organization.
Okay. What is that?
Basically, they invite people from the Netherlands and Indonesia to talk about global issues and make the two cultures more close to each other, being aware of history and potential.
Okay. Wow, that's really great. That's really great, especially about history, like the Dutch history in Indonesia, because they colonized us for so long, right? And I think like people need to be familiar with those.
Yeah, it's tough because even the king apologized for the colonial history this year when
Yeah,
he visited. So
yeah,
looking back at history can be very, very complicated.
mm-hmm.
You can never go around talking about it in like a format which is, structured and have good intentions and forward looking. And Francis
Yeah.
is actually a former minister in Indonesia.
Okay.
He passed away, but he is from the east, I think Timor.
Oh wow.
I think it's West Timor, and
Uh-huh.
he wanted the regions to be included in the growth.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really cool.
So you're no longer in One Young World, or was it more of an Novartis thing?
Um, so once you're done with that conference, you become like part of a global network, where ideally like these network will be able to support you in like your ideas, and where you can collaborate with like all these people from different parts of the world. Um, no, so how I got into that conference was because I was active at the time. I was active with this organization that was based in Bali called Baliwise. That was started out. So it's two parts organization. One is R.O.L.E Foundation and one is Bali-wise. And R.O.L.E Foundation works a lot on like clean ocean initiatives. So they would do like beach cleanup, they would do outreach. And the Bali-wise program, they like would let women from like all over, not just Bali, but all over Indonesia to apply and be in like a vocational program, training program. So for like women who can't afford like a college education, they would apply to this vocational training in order for them, after they graduated, after 6 months, they'll be able to get like a good job.
That's really cool.
In the hospitality industry, because if you're based in Bali, like that's what they're known for, hospitality industry. So they actually engage hotels like Alila, to where like the students will go to Alila for like a practical training on hospitality. So like it's a really great organization that focuses on women, empowering women, empowering Indonesian women. So at the time I was active with that organization, I helped like generate funds for them. Yeah.
Wow, cool.
So yeah. Yeah, and it's still going on. They have like I got a chance to like visit their campus, and they also have like a huge area where they have like amphitheater, where they have like composting, like recycling, and they also do like scarves with natural dyes. So they do a lot of outreach to like students and like tourists who would want to learn more about this organization and about like composting, like clean ocean stuff. So yeah, they're doing a lot of stuff.
It's great. I think the women of Indonesia should have access to these things, education and training, and I think it's not a replacement, an alternative to the existing system, which I personally don't think is inclusive enough, is not global enough.
Right.
There are people like you who can empower them with your experience and exposure and whatnot. It's great. It's great.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of women in Indonesia still needs to understand that like their role, like there's so much more that they can do, right? And that they have a say, and they have a say and they have a voice, basically, because I mean, to begin with, like in a lot of households, like women are in charge of a lot of things. Like other than cooking, they also do budgeting for food and everything. So like they're actually like they're managing a family, and they need resources to like do that, and like that already give them like a certain skill sets for them to like to work, actually. It's like budgeting for food is not easy. And like teaching kids, taking care of kids is not easy work as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Certainly. I hope these era will continually produce technologies in their smartphones that could provide tools for that. I don't know, maybe accounting software or uh, or I guess um, awareness of YouTube, I think, is important. I learned so much from YouTube. Like if it wasn't for YouTube, I wouldn't uh, start a podcast. I wouldn't learn how to cook. I didn't know how to cook. So yeah, I guess we're in an interesting time. And we got
Yeah.
still um, out, go out there and yeah, help out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, having technology is power. Like it's a privilege, and it gives you like power. It gives you a tool, right, to like learn new things. And so, yeah.
And like technology shouldn't be exclusive.
Yeah. But yeah,
It can be cheap, to to distribute. I just hope like no one has like a control of information or tech, so that more people can get involved.
Yeah. I mean, it needs collaboration. It needs collaboration between like the private companies and the governments to like to build, basically, like for technology you need infrastructure, right? You need like signals, and yeah, like it takes collaboration between like the private industry and government.
Sure.
Much like any other initiative in the world, it's like you need those two combined.
Yeah.
And like also the power of the people too.
Yeah, you're right. The infrastructure has to be more, say the least.
Yeah.
Aside information, in India, one of the biggest investments that has been going into that country is a technology company that wants to give internet to everyone in India. India, like, it's a huge country, 1 billion people, but then not everyone has connection. So what's interesting is the company that has received the most investments lately has been Reliance Jio, which is this technology company, and it's cool to see investors such as Facebook going into that. So hopefully, technology infrastructure in Indonesia will continue.
Yeah.
Hey, so what are you doing now? Where do you work now, and are you keeping safe?
I'm working for another pharmaceutical industry. I live in San Francisco now. And yes, I try to stay safe. I mean, I tried my best. Like, I wear my mask. I guess what's different over here is that grocery stores are still open. So I would go out to buy groceries. But yeah, I mean, so far so good. Like, I tried. I mean, I wash my hands after I come back, and like I like do hand sanitizer and everything. So I feel like as long as people maintain a safe distance, and like you don't exchange like bodily fluids with each other, like that's the best thing you can do. Yeah, with the riots going on, like I'm not sure, because I went to one of the riots, and people not the riots, sorry, protests, not riot. Yeah, like at the time, like people weren't keeping like 1 meter apart. Like people are definitely not 1 meter apart. Yeah.
Do you have any friends that are healthcare workers?
Yes, I do. I think I have one that like I'm still in contact with, and he's doing fine. he's okay. He gets, I think like he gets to choose his schedule, so he doesn't come into work every day.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
But the do I'm sort of scared of getting infected, right? But
Hmm.
the healthcare workers are like risking their lives in the front lines. Do they do anything different than us, or no? As in to protect themselves.
I think from what I read in the news, of course, like when they're doing their job, they would wear all of those like extra protections with like the face shield and like the whole like bodysuit and everything. And I think healthcare workers, they would isolate themselves, especially if they have to work with like people who actually have the coronavirus. Then they wouldn't come back to the house with the possibility to like infect their family, right? So from what I read in the news, that they would have to like just isolate themselves, you
Oh,
know, to keep everyone else safe, which is very unfortunate.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
As for me, um, I would suggest to take your vitamin C every day,
Right.
because I mean, yeah, once when like kind of it like the flu, like you the only way to fight the flu is like you rely a lot on your immune system, right? So like what I'm doing is I'm making sure that my immune system is at top notch by like taking vitamin C and doing exercise. I mean, that's like the best thing that you can do right now.
Noted.
Yeah.
Mhm. So where do you work now? What company is it?
Another pharmaceutical company. It's called BioMarin. And what's different with this company is that they produce drugs for rare diseases. So like previously at Roche and Novartis, like it's very oncology. They produce a lot of oncology products, like cancer products, like breast cancer, lung cancer, um, what else? Liver cancer. With this company that I'm working with, it's rare diseases. So like the patient population are probably about only 100,000 in like the entire world population. So which it's like way smaller population. And like the diseases that we're dealing with are like diseases that I've never even heard of before I worked in this job, because I'm so used to like knowing about breast cancer, where like the patient population is much bigger than 100,000, right? So yeah, so it's the industry that I'm in is we deal a lot with like rare diseases now. So it's like it's a little bit different, but what I do is pretty much the same.
Mm. Drug safety, ensuring that the drugs that are um, marketed meet certain certain guidelines that are
Hmm.
good for people.
Yeah, yeah. It's just different drugs that I'm dealing with.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow,
Hmm.
that's super interesting.
I know. Yeah. I mean, that's like also the common misconception, like with like people working in the pharmaceutical industry. They just think like, oh, like if you work in the pharmaceutical industry, then you must have the vaccine for coronavirus, you know. But then like different companies produce different drugs, right?
Mm.
So like, no, my company doesn't have vaccines for coronavirus.
Okay.
Unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, different companies have produced different drugs, and they play in like different populations of patients.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That's super interesting.
Hmm.
Hey, I think that wraps it up. I really had a great time learning from you about so many things that
Mhm.
I have to listen to this podcast again to remember.
I
But
hope I explained enough. I hope I explained enough. Like, um, yeah. Like, I saw your face at one point, and you were like, "What?" And then I'm like, "Oh my God, did I make myself clear enough?"
no, kind of
Yeah,
big.
yeah. I mean, hopefully, it can be useful
Yeah.
for people. Yeah. I mean, thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me and thinking that what I do is interesting enough to be in a podcast.
Hey, I'm sure this is your last podcast. People will be thrilled listening to you. Um, you know, as much as I did, maybe even more in other ventures. Who knows?
Yeah. And yeah, I was nervous about doing this, but then yeah, you made it seem so easy. Like, has it been 1 hour already?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
wow.
feel like it.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Great. Hey, where can people find you in social media?
I am social media. It's Instagram, Clartsy Fartsy. Don't judge my Instagram handle. Facebook is Clarissa Boediarto, and if you want to know more about Bali Wise and R.O.L.E Foundation, like you can also um, go to their website. It's baliwise.org, and like you can also follow them on Instagram. It's Baliwise.
Love it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, follow Clarissa and the things that you mentioned. It'll be cool for us and be cool for the world. Cool.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, you know what to do. Say bye.
Bye.